New CBS News polling shows the country could be headed towards another tight presidential race. Among likely voters, President Biden is down a point to Donald Trump. Should he become the GOP nominee? Many who responded said age is a factor for them. CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto, is joining us now in the studio to talk about them numbers. Anthony, so,
How you doing?
we've talked quite a bit actually over the past few weeks about our lawmakers, how old they are, whether, what that says about their fitness, if anything, experience versus age. But you found that more and more voters are kind of focusing in on age when they're considering who they want to be president.
Well, look, I think it speaks to uncertainty, which is to say, if you're thinking about who you might vote for, and obviously we're very early in the process, if there's uncertainty about whether or not someone would leave office before that second term happened, then you're not exactly sure what it is you're getting when you cast that vote, right? And people have sort of had it with uncertainty. There's uncertainty about the economy, there's uncertainty about the climate, et cetera. So I put it in that context. And you look at these numbers when we ask if elected in 24, what would happen? And you get this plurality that thinks, and again, this is perception, right? That then President Biden in 24 might have to leave office before the second term is done, and finish a second term is only a third. Now, Donald Trump isn't exactly inspiring widespread confidence about this either, right? It's just over half, so comparable to Biden, it's higher, but there's also some questions in the public mind about him. So again, this is about uncertainty, and yes, it's also to some degree about their perceptions of whether or not they're healthy enough to serve. This is related, right? So you look at this very big difference between those who think only Donald Trump is physically healthy enough to serve as president versus those who think only Joe Biden or even both of them.
Wow.
And a whole bunch of people just don't think either of them is. So yeah, all of that, the uncertainty, again, it's perception, but that goes into the process.
It makes me just think about the enthusiasm, but I want to ask you, did you ask them about, what certain words were, give them certain words, and who do you think of? Like, how did you phrase this question?
Yeah, I always try to start especially early with what people want in a president, in this case, or an elected official. So right now we have tough and caring and no nonsense among the top answers that people give in what they're looking for. But I think this is really important because you then look at how they describe particular candidates, okay? Now, Joe Biden is described as predictable, as calm. Let's look back to 2020. Those kinds of characteristics really met the moment.
Completely.
Right? That's what people wanted in the middle of the pandemic, after the Donald Trump, for many of his voters. Okay, but they don't rate him as well on those other things that they want, like tough. Right? So now maybe that's not meeting the moment. And that, I think, is related. Now, they do rate Donald Trump stronger on being tough or perceived as. Also energetic, harkening back a little bit to what we were just talking about perceptions of physical health. So that juxtaposition, I think, is important in the dynamic.
That is really interesting. One thing the Democrats and Republicans seem to agree on is they don't want to see a Trump-Biden rematch.
Okay. Well, look at this. Look at this. One of the things you want to look at is, are people happy with seeing this kind of a rematch? And I'm looking for the slide here, and I'm not quite finding it. But what we're talking about is people say the political system is broken if we get these candidates. That's number one. Now, they think, having said that, they think the stakes are high. They think democracy is at stake only if their guy wins.
Of course.
And then the last thing I just have to touch on is the economy, because it often comes back to that. And a lot of people are comparing themselves, speaking of the pandemic, and saying that they're worse off today than they were before that pandemic. And I think that's often the dividing or the demarcation line now for people in reference, that they're not back yet. And this has a lot to do with how they're thinking about voting.
It's so fascinating. I mean, I know we have a long way to go, so this is just a snapshot of this moment, but it just makes me wonder about what voter turnout is going to be like if it ends up to be these two guys. And you got a whole segment of the population that's kind of like, kind of lukewarm about it.
Right. People aren't happy with getting this matchup, but also just why we're doing this now, it sets a context. After all that's gone on over the last couple of years, the Democrats don't have a solid or a large majority coalition. Donald Trump does have the support to be competitive, at the very least, in a presidential general election. And people should know that. That's our
Right.
context going
Well, he's
forward.
got a whole lot of other problems. Anthony, thank you very much.
Welcome.